you know what's happening in the Pierce County housing market right now? Like, it's February, it's the end of February. Happy Black History Month, by the way. But do you know what's going on with the housing market? And I was just thinking, sitting there thinking, like, I haven't looked at data in a minute. I think the last time was like in September or October or something like that. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to look at the numbers for the Pierce County housing market. And we're gonna get a little deep. So you know what I mean? I'm not gonna try to make it too long-winded, but sit down, take a listen. If you're a buyer, this is for you. If you're a seller, this is for you. If you're thinking about buying, this is for you. If you are someone that is thinking about selling, this is for you. If you're a real estate agent, this is for you. If you are just interested in houses, this is for you. So this is good information. Anyway, before I get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free. It's easy. It's the only way you're going to keep up with what the Abodes are doing, with what the real estate market is doing, with any community members that come on here are doing, and all that. All right, before I get into the data real quick, I do want to say, I did mention it, but happy Black History Month. It is Black History Month, and we have a whole series of Black History Month reflection series podcasts. Go back and check those out. I'm actually repurposing some of them in real time. So you'll be getting some of those in the future, probably the next 1 week, actually, really, now we have. But honestly, here's my take on that. Like, Black history is American history. So I don't just take this month as this is when we're only going to be learning Black history. Like, that's all year round. I want to make sure that we all understand that. And Black history is American history. Happy Black History Month, though. Really dope. All right, let's get into this information, because I know there's a lot of people talking, and you hear a lot of news articles and things like that. But I believe it's really localized, and even within that same region, whatever region you're in, whatever county you're in, you're going to probably want to look at a dual market as well. So when someone asks me what's going on in the market, it's kind of like, well, it depends. What market are you talking about? Are you talking about 300 to 600,000 in Pierce County? But that might be different in King County, because King County has a higher price point. All right, let's take a look at Pierce County prices. So here are the median prices. And one thing I want you to take a look at now, again, this is from the Northwest MLS InfoSparks. And basically this is residential. This is residential only. But I want you to take a look at the price and how it has changed over the course of the last 5 years. So I'm looking back 5 years just to give you a little bit of an idea of the trend and where we might be headed. If you take a look at this, when we made that run up after the COVID from 2021 to mid 2022, the peak of that pricing in Pierce County for the median price was $585,000. And then, as we all know, we dropped precipitously from there down to 503, which was the bottom. That was the bottom for the next till current day. So that $503,000 median price for Pierce County was the bottom all the way up to this point. So once we hit that in December 2022, then we start to climb back up for our spring market, our traditional spring market. That's when we get busy. It's when things are going and popping off. All right. So we topped out in May that year of 2023 at 549,000. So then you keep going, and then, the price is kind of doing some sideways action. And then in 2024 for our spring market, we topped out in August 2024 at 579,000. Okay. So we hadn't hit the top of that 2022, that May 22 just yet. And so now we go a little bit more sideways. We dip down in December and January and February in 2025. And the top in 2025 was 591. Okay. Now, if you go back to May 2022, our top was 585,000. So we did top higher than that in May 2025. Now, again, you had a top in August and October of 2024. We hit that right back in August. So the question is, May and August had a top of 590,000. So you could say we had a double top that year as well. We're at the point now, we're starting the year in 2026, and we're starting out at 550,000 median for January 2026. That's kind of telling. So now the question from me to you is, do you think that we're going to get to a 591,000 median price in Pierce County? And if I had to guess, my guess would be yes. Here's why. I'm going to show you another screen, and this is the mortgage rates. Let's see. Share this one. So this is the mortgage rates based on, I'm on mortgagenewsdaily.com. And so when we take a look at these mortgage rates, we now have the lowest 30-year fixed mortgage rate that we've had since 2022. So as of today, we've had the lowest. So the average mortgage rate right now is sitting at 6.05 according to Mortgage News Daily. You may have heard from some lenders, or 6.04, somewhere around there, but you may have heard from some lenders and things like that on Instagram or wherever you get your news about real estate. You may have heard from them saying this and stating this. And so that's good news for buyers. I think, it's the first time since, again, September 2022, I believe it was. Friday, September 2nd, 2022, we had a 6.02 average mortgage rate. So, and we were going up. We were in an upward trajectory at that time. So we were coming up from, 5. So we went from 5 to 6 in like a month, less than a month. So that's a different trajectory. Now, if you look at this trajectory that we're on right now, we are actually headed down. So we're in a downward trend. So that could mean one of two things. I mean, does that mean that the rates are going to go all the way down? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you that. But if I had to guess, I would say that we have lower mortgage rates with a downward trend, and the lowest since 2022. And we're starting at a $550,000 median median price for Pierce County residential. That points to possibly having a higher median price when peak season is here, which is about May. So, and then it might top out somewhere else in the years as well. So that's just something to think about. You might want to think about that if you're a buyer. Now, I have some other things that we're going to go over. I have a little slide deck I'm going to go through. So take a look at this information. I think it's really good, and you should pay attention to this. Where is this market headed? February 2026 market update. So the first thing I want to do is just say, let's take a look at the transactions overall. So this is just the context. I'm trying to zoom in so you can see it, but this is just the context. So we have peaks. So the red line is pending, the light green is homes for sale overall, and the dark green is solds. So this red line is basically the pendings, and you can see the ups and downs and when people are going under contract and not. So this is all the way back to 2022. So I use that because of the rates. When we look at this, we have the most inventory we've had. Well, since Abode is opened, we reached 3 months of inventory this past year, and that was the first time since we've been open that we've reached that level. So there is a lot of inventory, or was a lot of inventory in our peak season of the market. Now, when you can see when the pendings start going up is after December. So in some cases, you might have it happen in December, but it's going up, from January all the way. Like last year was a straight shot. From January, the pendings went all the way up till May, which makes sense because that was the top, right? So that's where, and you can see that right here. So this is where that's what I'm looking at. I shouldn't have scrolled in, but you can see what I'm talking about right here. So that's what I'm looking at. So when we look at January, December at the pendings, they typically will go all the way up and peak in whenever that top time frame was. And that's why we looked at the price and we saw when the tops were on that. And now we're looking at the pendings and seeing where the tops are on that. And they coincide with the price. So I think that this is just good data to look at to hopefully, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just going off of previous trends of previous cycles of previous years and where we landed. So if you take a look at this red line, the pending last year in 2024 was literally a straight up. So up only to the right all the way till May. So this happened again in 2025, up only till May, and we had that top there, and then we had another top at another part in the year. We had a little spike there of activity. And we also had some of the highest inventory at that time as well. So you can see the solds pop up at that time as well. Well, if you look to 2026 in December, we bottomed right there, which we typically do. And then we're up only on the pending side on that. But that gap of, for sale, we have a lot of inventory comparatively, so when you look at different years, you look at last year, that's not anywhere near the height of right now in terms of inventory available. If you look at the year prior to that, it's not even close in 2024. If you look at the year prior to that, in 2023, not even close in terms of inventory. So we're in a time where you have rates that are going down and we have inventory available. So the question is are there buyers out there? Are there things that, and then what's happening in that market? So that's what we're going to be focused on and moving forward for the Inside Abode podcast. Again, we're going to show this on brick by brick as well because y'all need this information too. But let's keep going. I have more here, but I just wanted to start out with just looking at the macro and looking at, what's going on in the transactions. So this is inventory. It says transactions, but this is inventory. So months of inventory is going down and will likely do that because of the cyclical nature of real estate. So again, December, we typically top out there. So just like we did, we're at 2.9 months of inventory in December, and we had just a straight line drop down to 2.1 months of inventory in January as recorded. So right now we're in February. So we'll take a look at where we're at right now from that. But I mean, from 2.9 to 2.1 in 1 month in terms of inventory is a lot. That's a big drop. So I mean, if you look at the past years of data, we can surmise that this inventory is going to go down, whether like last year it bottomed out in really like soon, like March last year, and then it went up. Remember, we had the April tariffs last year. We had like when March. So again, March is. So I'm not surprised that this happened because around this time is when the tariffs happened, the tariff talk happened, and pretty much just halted our market for about 3 weeks. So that inventory built up over time last year. So will that happen this year again? I don't know. But excuse me, when you're looking at this graph, that context matters because like all markets pretty much stopped for the most part in that time. And so what you're seeing here is we see that, yeah, the market stopped for about a month and inventory built up, and we never really recovered after that. We just kept going up with inventory. And so we weren't able to catch up with buyers to buy the homes that were being put on the market last year. Flash forward a year, now we're back in the same boat where we're in February and the months of inventory is dropping. Inventory is dropping, even though we do have inventory. We do have inventory right now. So here's another look at some of the inventory as well. So current month versus previous month. So again, like we just showed, we're down 2.9 to 2.1. That's about a 27.6% drop. And then if we looked at last month, compared like in January 2025 to January 2026, that's a 2.1. So we actually increased in inventory from last year if we looked at just the month of January. But again, we're in February. We're past Valentine's Day. So let's take a look at what is happening right now based on last month. So, or I'm sorry, month to date. So if we were to go from 1/9 and today's the 20, we are looking at a 26% drop in inventory and months of inventories. That's could be a sign where we're headed. Like again, when we're looking at that chart from like this is just the month of January at 2.1. And what we're seeing right now is at 1.7 current day is where we're at. So that means inventory is going down. So that's a 26% drop. If we were looking at the same time frame last month. All right. And the other thing too is if we're looking at the same time frame for last year, that's not to like sound the alarm or nothing because we were at the same spot last year, 1.7. And for the same time frame in February for 2025, it was 1.7. Same thing in 2026. Again, that April tariff announcement was big. It halted the market last year, and who knows what we're going to have this year. There's all kinds of things that are popping off that could happen. Who knows with this dude. Anyway, inventory's down from December to January, increased 17% year over year. We talked about those. Oh, how long is it going to take your home to sell? So if you're a seller right now, how long is it going to take? That's something you need to think about as well. Let's take a look at this data. So 300,000 to 600,000 market. So in Pierce County, the homes that have closed, and I used year to date on this, 44.47 homes that have sold in the last 30 days, sold within 30 days. Okay. So so that means they went under contract and sold, not went under contract, but they sold in the last 30 days. Those homes that sold in the last 30 days, the 44% of them were within 30 days. And then when you go from there, 31 to 60 days, there was about 20% of that, 20% of those homes. So you're looking at about 60, I mean, roughly speaking, 65% or 66%, whatever you want to say. 66% of the homes sold in the first 60 days. All the homes that sold in the last 30 days, 60% of them sold in 60 days or less. I guess the expectations, so we moved those expectations. I remember there were times where under 30 days would be like 90%. 90% were under 30 days. Like we're just no longer in those days. And this is for the $300,000 to $600,000 range. This is what I'd consider the affordable range in our marketplace, because our median again is 500 and we're in the 500s for our median price. These are things just to consider as you're listing your home or as you're talking to your agent. Hopefully it's an Abode agent because they have access to all of this information. We talk about it all the time. But I think that this is just where you need to be just looking at. If you're a seller, just be looking at the trends. And this is just general. This is just for the county. I would maybe be dialing this down just a little bit if you're in a specific area with a specific price point as well. So let's take a look at 600,000 to 1 million in that market. Look, check this out. This is interesting. So 35% sold within 30 days of the last 30, year to date, that sold in the first 30 days. 35% for 600 to 1 million. That's interesting. And then 15%. So that's only roughly 50% selling in the first 60 days in this little pocket of 600,000 to 1 million. Very interesting. So now let's take a look at, and then you can see here it drops off, but 100, look at this, 20% in the 120 plus days category, 20% of homes. So there's a lot of stuff sitting. Now, again, remember, we're at the beginning stages of the year. So you're probably going to have some stuff that sat in the fall of last year. So we're not out of the first quarter just yet, but you might have had some stuff sitting that got listed in December, or maybe it got listed in November, and maybe they even took it off for a little bit, but those days on market stuck there, who knows? And here's what's even more interesting. When I go to the 1 million and up category, check this out. So when I go to the 1 million and up category, 41% of those sold within 30 days, year to date. Anything that sold $1 million and up in Pierce County in year to date, sold within 30 days, 41%. That's higher than the 35% for a lower price range. So I'd be curious to look at what's going on right there. That's curious to me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I have to drill down more. I'd have to look at certain properties, areas that they were sold in, all those kinds of things. But these are just the things that we do in real estate and as real estate agents and people, is to look at this data and try to figure out how we can best position your home for sale. Or if you're a buyer, looking at this information to try to figure out what you should be looking at in terms of just your offer and things of that nature. That's a good one. Let's go to the next slide. Active listings. I don't want to look at those ones. Oh, this one. Yeah, this was one I want to look at. So the buyers. How many buyers are out there in Pierce County? So this is Real Scout, and looking at our buyer heat map. So our buyer heat map, man, what's going on out in Gig Harbor over the bridge? We got all kinds of action going on out there. What is happening, y'all? And then we have a lot down towards Graham. So we have some red down there. Now, there's activity happening everywhere, but the hot spots seem to be, when you look at this map, you got over the bridge, a lot of activity over the bridge in Gig Harbor. You got a lot of buyer activity happening over in Graham. Now, this makes some sense because, again, this is when you can get deals, because we do have that inventory. You just looked at the inventory. This is when there's inventory sitting. It really is a buyer's market at the moment. So that could change, and it all depends on the property as well. So it's not for everything. That doesn't apply to everything. Again, sit down with a realtor, sit down with someone that has access to this information and knows and has gone in the houses and knows the area and knows what's happening in the marketplace. Like, yes, you can go to Zillow and look at some preliminary data and things like that, but that's not going to tell the whole story based on all the information that we have. All right, so let's take a little bit more look at buyers. So you can see here that the buyers actually from middle of December was the bottom point of the recent days, and the buyer activity has done nothing but go up according to this particular platform. So that doesn't speak for all of the buyers in Pierce County. None of these buyer heat maps, this is just 1,219 active buyers based on that and based on 16,000 interactions. So it's not all of the sample size that we want to look at for buyers, but it's not nothing at the same time. It's a lot of people. So just figuring out like, all right, it looks like buyer activity is ticking up. So if you're saying that or your agent's saying that, that's actually real according to this piece of data and this sample size of data. So we talked about rates already. So I showed you that. And that's what I have for you today. If you like that information, hit that follow. Just hit it. It's real simple. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hit that follow. But also, we have some really good stuff coming up. So we're going to talk home contingencies. We're going to talk seller prep. We're going to talk all of those things. So make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure if you have any questions, tap in davidjones@windermere.com or tap in with one of our agents. We're going to have other agents on here. We're going to have other things going on. And again, look out for some more Black History Month reflection series. I'll probably drop at least one or two more, repurpose a couple because those are good conversations, but we just want to make sure that we pay homage as well. So with that, I hope y'all are good. I hope that market update was helpful for you. And if you like that, comment, or if there's something else you didn't want that you wanted to know or you have a question about, feel free to hit me up. I'm always open for DMs and emails. So hit me up. All right. Y'all be good. Peace.